Lavrov says that all parties should support al-Ibrahimi's mission to find a political solution to the crisis in Syria. And al-Ibrahimi says the political solution is the only choice left for solving the crisis in Syria, according to Geneva statement. Massive demonstrations take to the streets of Al-Qatif protesting oppressive practices of al-Saud against citizens. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that Russia was contacting with all parties in Syria to solve the crisis in it, referring that the terrorist acts are increasing in Syria, including what Al-Qaeda is doing.
In a joint press conference with the UN envoy to Syria, Lakhdar Ibrahimi, in Moscow, Lavrov added that Russia's priority is halting violence in Syria and starting a political process, according to Geneva statement. The Russian minister stressed that all parties should support Ibrahimi's mission, pointing out that there is still an opportunity for finding a solution to the crisis in Syria, as reaching a real political process is the best solution to find a way out of the crisis. Ibrahimi, for his part, said that nothing is left for us but the political solution being a choice for solving the crisis in Syria, according to Geneva statement, and everyone should help the Syrians to overcome the crisis and halt violence.
In related context, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov stressed that all the debates that Russia is conducting regarding the crisis in Syria are based on Geneva statement, asserting that Syrians are the only ones who determine the future of their country. In an interview with Russia Today TV channel, Bogdanov said that Russian officials discussed with their partners different ideas to solve the crisis in Syria, and all of them are on the basis of Geneva statement. He dismissed as untrue the existence of any US-Russian plan conveyed by the UN envoy to Syria, al-Akhdar Ibrahimi. New evidence is revealed that shows that armed groups are using children in terrorist acts through sending them to exploit themselves and making them carry out surveillance activities. More in the following.
By committing such heinous crimes, Al-Nusra Front wants to kill Syria's children. It is difficult to explain this photo, which was published by the terrorist Al-Nusra Front, claiming that it is for the mother of the Mujahideen, while trying to prepare an explosive device to be carried by a 10-year-old child. The photo was followed by a religious fatwa that provides for sending children to what the terrorist front called struggle. What kind of struggle imposes on children to carry explosive devices to be remotely detonated? This phenomenon is not new, as children have been used by terrorist groups since the beginning of the crisis as human shields. The misleading media channels also played a role in recruiting children. This photo, which shows a woman carrying a bleeding child, was screened by the misleading Al-Arabiya channel, claiming that it took place in Der'a. But the reality refuted Al-Arabiya claims and proved that the photo was published in a newspaper in 2009 and was taken from the archive of the Iraqi resistance.
In local news, the Syrian Arab Army units continue to crack down on terrorist groups in a number of neighborhoods in Deir ez-Zor city and its countryside. An official source said that a unit of the Syrian Arab Army clashed with a terrorist group in Al-Ardi neighborhood in the city, killing a number of its members and injuring others. The source added that the terrorist Ismail Muhammad al-Alloush, leader of the so-called Al-Furqan Brigade, was reportedly killed in the operation. Another unit clashed with a terrorist group and killed most of its members, among them Muhammad Sabbar Khalifa from the so-called Ibn Taymiyyah battalion. In Al-Busayra Street, a unit of the Syrian Arab Armed Forces killed several terrorists and injured others. The terrorist Najm al-Shweikh was identified among the dead. A unit of the armed forces also targeted and destroyed a camp for Al-Qaeda in Al-Mayadeen east of Tayyib al-Fal. A car with the terrorists inside it was also destroyed. Another unit destroyed 8 cars with all the terrorists inside it near a tank field in Al-Mayadeen area. Also in Al-Mayadeen, a unit of the Syrian Arab Army clashed with an armed terrorist group, killing and injuring its members. In Damascus countryside, a unit of the Syrian Arab Army killed a number of terrorists in Dalla. A military source said that the clash took place as the terrorists were stealing the contents of public and private properties in the area. The source added that another unit of the Syrian Arab Army destroyed terrorist dens between Nabek and Yabrut, inflicting heavy losses among the terrorists. Units of the Syrian Arab Army killed an injured terrorist and destroyed their weapons and equipment in Al-Husayniya and Hijera in Damascus countryside. An official source said that cars with terrorist ammunition and machine guns inside were destroyed in Al-Husayniya town, adding that numbers of terrorists were killed and others injured. The source added that a unit of the Syrian Arab Army killed members of a terrorist group near Al Jazeera pool in Hijera town. 2 cars equipped with heavy machine guns were destroyed in the operations. In Douma, a Syrian Arab Army unit pursued terrorists near Al-Jarrah and Al-Shuhada roundabouts, injuring a number of them and killing others, including Ahmad Bitar, Muhammad Sulaiman and Saeed Jum'a. Another unit clashed with terrorist groups in Al-Bayadir Square and Al-Hassan roundabout in the town of Al-Halasta, killing and injuring many terrorists. A Syrian Arab Army unit clashed with a terrorist group near the Produce marketplace in the town of Hijera, eliminating a number of terrorists and injuring others. Another unit killed 3 terrorists in an operation in the town of Ad-Diabiyah and injured 10 others. Terrorists near Al-Sabat marketplace destroyed 2 vehicles that were used to transport terrorists' weapons and ammunition. Al Jazeera's correspondent in Berlin, Aktham Suleiman, resigned from the channel because of what he called its becoming a political and intelligence tool in the hand of Qatar and abandoning professionalism in favor of the Qatari government's agendas. In an interview with Deutsche Welle website, Suleiman said that Al Jazeera currently lacks professionalism, contrary to when he joined it in 2002. And that it lacks internal structures that immunize it against attempts by the owners or editors to interfere politically in things that should have been handled in a journalistic manner. He pointed out that Al Jazeera's coverage of events in Syria fuels the conflict as it makes one side out to be mass murderers and turns the others into saints. The city of Qatif in the eastern Saudi Arabia witnessed a massive peaceful demonstration yesterday, including hundreds of men, women and children, protesting against the Saudi forces, which opened fire against the people in the market the day before yesterday, killing 6 people while 2 others were injured seriously. Al Jazeera mirror site for the first time stated that the demonstrators carried the photo of the dead man Ahmed Muhammad al-Matar, member of the Freedom and Justice Coalition, as they were chanting slogans such as "Death to al-Saud" and other slogans which call upon the international society to interfere in order to deal with the deteriorating human rights situation due to terrorist acts, in addition to the propaganda of al-Saud authorities. And with this we end our news for today. You can get more information from our website www.syriaonline.sy. Stay with us after the break. Bani has the latest in economy and finance.
Good afternoon. The Minister of Finance approved the Minister of Industry's request to provide banking facilitations to the investors in the Adra industrial city, in order to help them overcome the current crisis. The industrial city's director asserted that foreign currency selling to the investors through the banks has been approved. The manager of the agricultural bank stressed that over 136 million Syrian pounds were stolen by terrorists from some branches in various governorates. The manager also showed that these funds resulted from looting by terrorist groups from the branches' funds, or during transferring money from the branches of the Central Bank of Syria in the governorates to the branches of the Agricultural Bank, or vice versa, indicating that damages caused by the act of sabotage by those terrorists were over 70 million Syrian pounds. The manager of the Plant Production Directorate at Al-Hasaka branch of Agricultural Directorate asserted that 345.6 thousand hectares out of the plant's 700,000 hectares have been cultivated with wheat. He highlighted that the latest rainfalls contributed in increasing the cultivated areas. Moreover, more than 24,000 hectares have been cultivated with lentil. The Agricultural Department is working on spreading the organic agricultural cultivation. The department's director affirmed the need for products free of all types of pesticides and synthetic fertilizers, as the new plant will depend on natural fertilizers. The department's manager added that 13 new schools were opened for this during this year's plan, and they called on the farmers to join. The Minister of Economy and Foreign Trade, Dr. Muhammad Dhafar Mhabbak, issued a decision that allows exporting 50,000 male sheep for the year 2013. The Deputy Minister of Economy and Foreign Trade, Dr. Abdel Salam Ali, clarified that this decision is under the framework of following up the reality of the local economy and for the best interest of the raisers and exporters, in addition to benefiting the treasury by foreign currencies. The decision was issued after studying the local needs, noting that this quantity won't affect the price of meat because it's in excess, according to the Ministry of Agriculture's surveys. The water's flow improved in Barada River because of the rainfalls during the current season. The manager of the water establishment in Damascus, engineer Hussam Al-Din Hredan, said that the rainfall of the basin's significance for the Fiji Spring reached 282 millimeters, compared to 134 millimeters in the previous season, while the average reached 137 at the same period last year, and the total rainfall of this season reached 510 millimeters. He also highlighted that the abundance of Fiji Springs water was 4.3 cubic meters per second, and he expected increasing it by the high temperatures. On the other hand, he was optimistic because of the heavy rainfalls and the amount of snow. He also pointed out that Barada's abundance approached 2.4 cubic meters per second. The Energy Information Administration of the U.S. said that the U.S. imports of the crude oil dropped to 816,000 barrels per day, to reach the lowest level since the year 2000. The crude oil imports average were 8,091,000 barrels a day in October, and the imports of the crude was down below their levels a year ago. This decline coincides with the slight fall in the U.S. demands for oil in October. Moving to the local market, the 21-carat gold was at 4,250 Syrian pounds, as the 18-carat gold was at 3,643 Syrian pounds per gram. On the other hand, the Jewelers Association set the price of the golden coin at 32,200 Syrian pounds, as the English coin of the 21-carat was set at 34,400 Syrian pounds, and the 22-carat was set at 36,000 Syrian pounds per gram. The Damascus stock market exceeded 200,000 stocks by the weekend, worth over 13.6 million Syrian pounds. By this, the DWX index is at 770 points, making a decline compared to last week, whereas the banks performed the best, followed by the industrial companies. European stocks fell in the year's last full week of trading, snapping a 5-week rally as the deadline neared for the U.S. lawmakers to agree a deal for halting a $600 billion automatic tax increase and spending cuts. Whereas the Asian shares rose for a 6th week, the longest winning streak since March, as investors bet governments in Japan and China, which may do more to spur growth. On the other hand, the Nikkei index advanced by 4.6% this week, taking its advance for the year to 23%, the most since 2005. dollar index touched a two-week high as President Obama and U.S. lawmakers seek to avert the fiscal cliff of more than $600 billion of tax increases and spending cuts. On the other hand, the euro halted a two-year losing streak as the European Central Bank President's commitment to backstop the shared currencies timed a debt contagion threat. In its 13th year, the 17-nation currency rebounded against the greenback after sliding almost 10% during the prior 2 years, as the yen extended the largest loss against the dollar among major currencies. And with this, we conclude our news. Thank you for watching and goodbye.